Hello Flutter developers, welcome back to my channel about Flutter. This video is the next video in our Flutter to Fly designing and implementing cross-platform web app and on Android and iOS and the web using Hummingbird. And in this video, we will be making our login function, login button working. So we will add a little form, this login form right here, which will take the information, our login information. I have this dummy login information here, and if I log in, it will show my profile page, which is nothing right now. It just says welcome and my email address, and show me my placeholder image, my profile image, and a little sign out button. And what it does in the background, it actually creates a record in Firestore right here. So this is my Firestore. So first we will be setting up our Firebase integration for our Flutter to Fly web app. And once you sign out, it will go back to the home page. And again, and if you don't have an account, you may want to register. And if you just say login, it will give you a specific warning. And if you register and say register, it will create an account in Firebase and will take you to your profile page. And we will be using the Firebase authentication, email and password authentication for this demo. And for that, you may want to enable your sign-in email and password should be enabled. And your project have to be set up. If you're not sure how to do that, you can go on this link. They have pretty good information and the direction about how to set up your web app using Firebase. It will give you this information. What's your API key, auth domain, database URL, a storage bucket, and so on. And you need this information to put in your application to be able to communicate to the Firebase. So please go through it. I will also put the link below in the video and in my article as well. So please go through it if you have any question. And here we have database, and database will be using Firestore to create the user entry. So you see it in here. I created users collection, and each user is in a document here, and this is the user ID, and it has display name and these many users I have right now. So what this user blob contains, it has display name, email, when the user was last active, photo URL, which has nothing in here, and a UID for the user. And make sure your rules are you only allow write when for authenticated request only. Okay, so let's go back to the code and get started. First thing first, you have to add some dependency in pubspec.yaml. So I'm using provider package to update. I'm using change notifier to notify for any login or logout, sign in and sign out notifications actions to my different APIs. So this is the state management I will be using, the package I will be using. So the package I can use this one. This is a package wrapper written for provider by Kevmo right here. And another things I will be adding Firebase, because I will be using Firebase Dart to communicate to the Firestore and firebase-auth. So, and also Google API's auth. Service worker is something I had to add because you make use of the Hummingbird, heavily use of JavaScript under the scene, and Firebase Any. So these are the 4 dependencies that are specific for this login functionality. Okay, and in addition to that, once you have it and build all the, if you say pub-get, these all external libraries will be come in place. And when you scroll back, you go to Firebase Dart right here and go to assets, and here in the config.json.sample, make a copy of it and create your own copy config.json and add your all data API key or domain database URL so on in right here because you would need it to communicate to the firestore and Firebase in general. And the reason we have it here because we do not want to check in our configuration details in our GitHub repo or any version control. So we keep it here. So let's see how we access it. So as you may have seen my previous videos about the web, how to set up the web project. So we have the web here, the web folder, and inside we have main.dart and index.html. So we add few things in here. So first thing in the sync, in the async, we have this config that's basically for Firebase package development only, but I just used it. Actually, don't have to do it twice here. Okay, right go. And initialize app. So Firebase initialization happen here in main.dart under the web folder. And using this config, it fetches API key or domain database URL and project ID and storage bucket so on. All configuration details right here. So that's why we need this one. And in the index.html file, you may want to add these dependencies, Firebase related dependencies. Firebase app, Firebase firestore, firebase-auth, and storage. Storage, however, I'm not using in this project, so you don't have to use it, but I'm planning to add more features to it later, so that's why I just added the dependencies. But that you need 3, Firebase app, firestore, and auth for this project to complete. All right, so that's the setup. And now this is my code, the shared code. So my all login code goes in login_web. I kept it separate because there is some wrappers are slightly different written for web counterpart. And so I was having trouble in using the same thing. For example, they had photo URL, which is like, let's see if I can show you right here. So in the web implementation, they had photo URL, which is caps, but in the native, it's U is capital, is a camel case. So that's why I had to keep a separate code for login.web. That's why I named it web, because when I merge my branch, I do not want to overwrite my changes. And also there is one more difference in web and native, the current user. So in here you have user, and in native it's called Firebase user. So that's another reason I had just created this different implementation. However, you can go around it by creating the more abstraction where you don't have user. Maybe you can have more a higher level method to reuse it, but I'm not covering that one in this video. Okay, so the main class of this before that, how we will get started with this. So you see how we click on in here, and where the click goes, it's in header. So we'll go navigate our header.dart, and this is where we locate where is our login button is, which is right here. That's the login button. And inside login button, when you tap on it, so what it does, push named Firebase login. So this is the navigation, Firebase Flutter navigation. And for that to work, we need something called router. Refer to my old videos about navigation if you have any question about how to implement the navigator and this routing. So in this router, so what it does is, just to be brief, it passes the push name. It's a central location which reroutes the different pages to their destination. So in here, when I click here, like in click right here, the control goes over here, and it put a Firebase login, so it goes and find on the router its match, so it goes here, and this is where uh, I open my Firebase auth login page, so which is my main page, which checks it if I'm logged in or not logged in, and so on, and shows me the corresponding page, whether to show me login page or the user profile page. And I wrap it around under change notifier provider, because my auth service, fire auth service, is a change notifier. So this is the one which is emitting the events, and once it's a user is signed in, like for example right here, it's signed in using the email and password, and once it's signed in, it notifies its listeners. So to register with this observable, uh, main dot sorry, where's my header router? Right here. Okay. So so this one, once I say notify listener, this is where the control. So my Firebase auth login listens all the events that happens in the auth service right here. So that's the way we write it. That's the way we tell it. By whatever happens in the fire auth service, please notify me. So this is a child. Okay. And now the same thing we do in the user profile. So in user profile, again, like whenever the user profile is called and any change happens, like sign out action happened, so I have to come out of it. I have to exit my user profile if I do the sign out. And if I do sign in, my user profile will be called with and will be a Firebase user is passed as the argument to it, because I want to show my data in my user profile page. So that's why I'm getting the argument from here. And again, it's always listening to the change notifier fire auth service for any sign out or sign in events. Okay. Okay, so let's go back to our login page. So I click here, I click on login page, and I got rerouted to my Firebase login. And once I'm here, what happens? I write here in the body, it gets the current user from my provider, from my fire auth service, and then it checks if the connection, if the data from Firebase is done or not, and if it has data in it or not. So if the data is found, then this user, so snapshot.data is the user information. This will be passed to the user, and if not, that means user is not logged in. It will taken to the login page. So let's see what happened in login page. In login page, you have two type of forms as we have seen. So this is a login and this is a register. So to show it, we have put them in a form type in enum, and then we show it accordingly. Also, I'm doing one more thing here. I'm making it responsive, because I want to show my screen slightly differently in small when I have the small screen. But when I have large screen, I do not want my email and password to go like side stretched out. I want them to be contained in the middle. So that's why I have different implementations for small and larger screens to make it more responsive and adjust to the size. Okay, so here it's a journal form, a regular form. So what we the things I want to focus in here is how we are registering and signing out. So sign in. Okay, so submit form. So once we sign in right here, so if it's a login type form, it will go and call the sign in method of the fire auth service. If it's a register, it will rather go to the create user. So in create user, what it does, it create a user entry right here. So once it gets being called, it goes into the authentication and it creates an entry here. So that's what it does. Okay, and then what update user does. So and once it creates an account, then I want to create a user account in the update user. So what it means, it goes and create take a reference for the users collection, users node in my database. So this is where we are talking to our firestore. It takes a reference to the users, take the document and update the data. So it takes the collection, this users, check the display name and the footer URL, do the required thing with whatever we want it to do, like checking if you want, and then it sets the data. So basically it updates the data because I have my merge true right here. So that's the syntax to achieve that. Reference to the collection, then document, and then updating set the new data and merge. And in sign out, we simply sign out using the Firebase auth service and notify listeners. So again, then it notifies to my user page, user profile page and login page to take the corresponding action when user is no more signed in. So when a user profile page gets this notification, it comes out of the login user update user profile page and goes to the home page. So let's see where it does it. So right here, so in the sign in, sign out, it sign out and it goes, it just says, okay, take me to the home page. We can change this behavior by pushing the login page path here, but I want in this particular app user to come on to the main screen once to the home page once they come out. Okay, and in this user profile page is very simple page. So it's just the past user, so the user whatever is passed, it takes the information, it passed again the same large screen or small screen to fit into. So I want it to fit in the middle and I want to add a welcome text, a little separation and circle of Thar and sign out. That's all I want. It's a pretty simple page. Yeah, so that's all to do this to achieve the login authentication using Firebase auth in the web, in the Hummingbird for flutter-web. And also there's a counterpart video and the source code for native implementation for Android and iOS, which is I will be putting up on my link, and which is right here. I will update the videos description as well, both for the both source code. And so that's pretty much for today. I will see you in the next video.